Alrighty, folks, it is time for episode 2 of Dissecting the Creatures of Primordialis. Today we're going into Zone 2, and yeah, we've already covered all the neutrals. You can see there's some of the guys that we've already encountered. But yeah, let's go ahead and get started, shall we? This guy here is one of the particularly interesting ones, kind of an evolution of our little basic enemy here. He's very spiky and pretty fast as well. He's definitely a threat. The biggest weakness that it has, though, is definitely that turn radius is quite bad. So yeah, that's a bit of a thing with this one. We'll go ahead and take a look at the stats here. Wow, they really struggle to like punch through stuff. I guess that's the yeah, this outer layer. So this outer layer is simply slippery cell, and you can see here they got a decent amount of hearts, lots of basic cells, the tail for stability, and only 2 jets once again. So very limiting with the jets. They really haven't done anything in these first 2 areas to make the creatures too fast. Obviously, ever since they took out the jet squid type creature and put it in the dark zone, we haven't really had any terribly fast creatures to worry about. But yeah, this thing, it's I don't know if there's too much to learn from it. It's just a bigger spiky boy, which is obviously an effective strategy up to a point. Let's go ahead and jump into this creature, which definitely has a lot more going on with them. So this thing has a lot of really weird stuff going on. So this tail movement, there's got to be some shenanigans at play to make this happen with any level of consistency. So I'm expecting some sort of slippery cell or flex cell or something that's super loose here. And then, yeah, this one isn't painted, so we can kind of see what's going on for the most part. But yeah, here we go. So the tail is all light cells, which makes it super flimsy compared to the rest of the body. And then we've got hard cells for the fins, which keeps them mostly in place. So yeah, this is definitely a significantly more complex build than everything else that we've looked at so far, I imagine. Maybe some of the acid creatures from Zone 1 could rival this in terms of complexity, but definitely some clever design going on here. And my question is, how does... So, like, this activates these, right? So those are permanent power supplies. And then this activates this line here. How does... I'm assuming that the electricity, like the electrical path here, this is the end. So these muscles don't go off right away. So if we look here, you can see there's 3 muscles going off before the flex sensors touch. If you look closely. Oh my god. And that means that these remaining ones here will all be activated by these feeler cells rather than being activated by this electrical current. Because electricity doesn't travel infinitely down a line. You need to have these everywhere, which is why you've got these like breakpoints essentially to generate additional electricity. And obviously this whole part of the mouth is, or the summon is hardened, so that way it takes fairly minimal damage. And obviously the weak point is down here. But yeah, pretty simple creature design for the most part, but this is where all the action's happening. Definitely some wacky stuff. I still don't know why this creature has health infusing cells. I guess it's trying to give you an advantage if you get behind it or on the side here. And once again, you know, we've got all these hard cells defending the main part of the body, but this spot right here is another weak point. So if you wanted to cut through here and maybe dive into the hearts there, that's another potential line to take this thing out in relatively quick order. But also on top of that, right after they shoot, this is a big weak point as well, and obviously they're missing HP. So if you can make a timing for that, That's another decent angle. But yeah, this creature is relatively slow, but you can definitely underestimate it if you're not careful. Definitely a spicy design. We're gonna go ahead and possess another creature. This thing has been the death of so many of my runs, and I'm sure it's probably been the death of a lot of your runs too. If you've been playing this game a lot and you get creative and you do weird shit, then you're very likely to be punished by this thing, because it's a goddamn menace. So this creature has two things that define it. It's got its explosive potential, and it's got its surprising durability to pair with its speed. It's definitely like a weird combination of things, but it works really, really effectively at killing the player. And this creature is so strong, in fact, that it can kill the Area 2 boss if you stack up a couple of them and bring it over to the boss. So definitely a crazy strong creature. Let's go ahead and take a look at the design. I gotta say, this is very unexpected. I was expecting hard cells to be somewhere on this creature, but I see none. Flex cells have reduced drag, so they're not really going to affect the movement of this creature at all. We've got Seeker cells at the tip of the tentacle, so that way I can aim this thing. That is very logical. Being able to wrap around your opponent is very important. This guy's going crazy. It's impressive. But yeah, definitely the objective is to wrap that explosive around the opponent and then explode and do a big murder. That is the goal at the end of the day. But I was genuinely anticipating some sort of explosive resistance somewhere on this creature, and not seeing any of it is super surprising, because it's very rare that I see this creature kill itself with its own explosions, and I guess that's because of the distance the explosion is away from the main body. But you can see there are some weaknesses of this creature. The primary thing is that it is pretty slow to regrow its tentacle, which means that it's kind of stuck controlling itself without this really handy seeker part. And it's not too bad, but definitely slows it down a fair bit. And only 4 hearts is quite that's quite a very, very little. And 411 biomass. This is maybe the most mass efficient creature that we've come across so far in terms of general deadliness. Definitely a very, very finely tuned design. And yeah, it's crazy because 400, that's like starting biomass essentially. And it makes me want to use flex cells a little more. I gotta try that out. I'll have to try out some flex cells. Looks like we found our next target. We'll go ahead and possess this guy. You can see a whole bunch of damage just dealt there. So yeah, we've got a huge health bar on this thing. We've got 3 tentacles, one of which has a seeker, so that means that this one is the head, I guess. And controlling this thing... Oh my god, am I dead? No, something died. Controlling this thing is very strange. I don't know what the purpose of these spinny things are yet, other than looking cool. So we'll have to play around with that. We've got some slippery cells along the outside here. That checks out. That would explain why they're able to spin so freely like that. And then we've got these electrical nodes, essentially, on the tip of each of these. And these appear to be precisely the same on each one, at least at a glance. So we've got spikes layering in, so that way the idea is if anything gets in close, it'll close in those spikes and just rip the enemy to pieces. And our spacebar grants us some electricity, which is pretty solid because we're very conductively resistant. So this thing does... I feel like it's more of a defensive creature than an offensive creature. You have to actively come after it if you want to kill it. And if you do that, that's when this thing is at an advantage. So, yeah, definitely a weird design. I imagine chasing anything down with this would be quite challenging. But, you can see it's not like it's invulnerable either. These grounding cells prevent its own electricity from stunning it. So, pretty basic defense there. Along with the spikes obviously dealing some significant damage. And then this interior body, where you would expect possibly a weak point, is quite the opposite with all these hard cells defending it. And this is a very interesting thing. So when you press spacebar, all 3 limbs have their own angry cells. This is the first time I've ever seen this. I need to go ahead and try this out, because angry cells don't work unless you're on a different team from enemies. So let's go ahead and swap teams. And when I hold spacebar, it's they should have their own sort of control, I suppose. Yeah, this is I feel like I've made a... I mean, obviously anyone who's looked at these creatures previously already knew this, but this is a brand new discovery for me. It's very cool. So I'm wondering if the angry cells don't seem to have any control. I don't know, they don't really do much, do they? I don't know if these are functioning the way they're supposed to. This could be something vestigial from a previous patch, or it could be a pipe dream, something that the creator would hoped would work. I think the original vision is that all three of these tentacles would be individually intelligent and have their own minds, and I think that was the concept behind it, but it doesn't appear to work that way for one reason or another. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. It would be really, really cool if it did work that way, but it certainly doesn't seem to. You can see enemies just trying to ram into me is enough to kill them in most cases. This is a surprisingly effective design against any melee range enemy, but obviously incredibly weak to anything with a range, because this part of your body, every part of your body is like quite exposed to taking damage. So you better hope that you're a lot tankier than whatever you're going up against. But so far this design is really good, because it's doing the exact same thing that you would expect. It's doing the exact same thing that you'd expect like a player to do a lot of the time, which is like go for the middle. That's kind of the thing that one intuits. But it makes more sense to go after these limbs, actually, especially if you can get like the tip of the limb and then go straight down that way. That would be most effective. Anyways, I'm going to take off these whatever you want to call them, these tentacles, I suppose, and see how the creature controls, because it seems like such a strange thing to have on there. And obviously, if you're watching the demonstration of the creature, the way it's moving, it was kind of pulling creatures in from time to time. But overall, the movement feels pretty much exactly the same, so maybe it's just an extra frill to look cool. That's kind of the vibe I'm getting. But yeah, this thing's cool. This thing's a really cool creature. It's got some interesting stuff going on with it. It's a very cool take on a spike snake, as far as I'm concerned. That's what I would call it. And yeah, I guess we'll jump in on the next creature here. Okay. So this enemy is one of those enemies that's either completely invincible or just dies without any trouble at all. And it's very rarely any in between. And this might be the first creature that we've come across that obviously has one of the mutations. So this creature has the chain lightning mutation, as you can see here. Cells struck by your lightning will emit more lightning. Damage from lightning no longer delays your regeneration. So, yeah, not a ton of lightning coming out of this thing, but if you also have a lightning build, this thing will never ever die. And let's go ahead and take a look at why. So, very, very simple design. I'm actually a little surprised just how simple this thing is. We've simply got some activator cells and some lightning cells, and then pure grounding cells. Yeah, it's a very simple design. I'm surprised at how basic it is. Interestingly enough, this central heart is not defended by the grounding. So while everything else is defended by the grounding, this is not, which means that if you could fire a strong enough piece of lightning to hit that, you could theoretically kill it that way. But generally speaking, I think spikes or lasers, actually not lasers, because lasers don't do anything to grounded. Spikes or explosives, I guess, are going to be your best bet in most cases. Because, yeah, this thing will be borderline invincible from any lightning. You could technically chip off the lightning pieces themselves, but that's about it. And look at that. Our next creature so graciously already joined us. Let's go ahead and take over this cool jellyfish, the creature. This thing is probably like the least scary enemy that you can encounter in Zone 2. But once again, it is pretty much entirely immune to electricity. And we've got the same mutation here on this one, another electricity user. But you can see that it deals damage to itself as well, which is interesting. So, we've got this extremely weird setup here. You can see we've got these hearts down here. That's so it will regenerate its tentacles as fast as possible. And we've got alternating power cells, ability trigger cells, and electricity cells. And the whole idea behind that, I guess, is that more power is getting into just a smaller amount of electrical nodes. But you can see that they cut themselves off as well, rapidly. And they're left behind. And they can use these left behind pieces to generate more electricity as well, which is pretty neat. The regeneration seems to be just enough, but as soon as I take any damage, that regeneration would not be enough, and I would start to take damage just from using my my active defense. So that's kind of problematic. And you can see that we've got ample grounding along the front here, and no grounding in the back. So if you could get in here, this thing would die to electricity. But yeah, once again, another creature incredibly susceptible to spikes and resistant to heat and immune to electricity mostly. But yeah, surprisingly simple design on this one. I don't think there's anything we can really gain other than, you know, put your hearts... make sure you've got something close to body parts that you're losing. A heart close to body parts you're losing, because that will definitely improve your chances. I'm not seeing any creatures to transform into, so I am going to go ahead and use the species list, and we'll pick something out manually. Here we go. So this is one of the much more complex creatures. First off, we've got poison tentacles. We've got a light cell tail. That's to provide an easy vulnerability. But it also kind of baits the player into the venom, which is interesting. We've got slippery cells, so our mobility is pretty good. And we've got internal hard cells to defend from our own explosives. We've got speed cells to improve our movement speed. And we've got an ample amount of hearts, perhaps the most we've seen among all the creatures that we've looked at so far. 3,045 total biomass, and let's go ahead and take a look at the real meat and potatoes. This is the summon part of the build. So, we've got our breakaway system here. I'm actually not sure why this guy is here. These two right here, I don't see any purpose to. If you've got any idea why these are here, please make sure you comment down below. And yeah, so we've got our activators, which is going to detach the bones, the breakaway, and then we've got some detach activators, which is going to activate this jet, and then we're going to have an electrical line that goes through the entire body, which will jettison these rockets off one by one. And yeah, it's quite the spectacle. You can see that they fire off inconsistently, but they're supposed to fire in order as well. That is the objective for this thing. And you can see this system is absurd. It is a truly absurd system. It's surprising how much they've jam-packed into here. So not only are these missiles explosive, but the core of the body is also explosive. And these are on a sort of timer with a poison set inside each one. You can see that they kind of turn green when they activate. And because that's never set to the body, obviously the player will never be poisoned. But in theory, most regularly these things will go off from the poison on a timer. And on top of that, we've got this feeler cell here, which is very interesting. Super weird placement there. So we've got an always negative and a feeler. Oh, this is weird. This is very strange. So the always negative prevents... What? So how does this work? This is the first creature that I actually think I don't fully understand, even looking at it. But we're gonna try and figure it out. Let's start with the core of the body first, and then we'll move on to the jettison parts. So we've got this electricity that's traveling up the inductive and conductive. This becomes a permanent activation. Note that these explosives, the electricity, never reaches them, so that prevents them from exploding. We've got seekers up here for movement. And we've got a breakaway up here with capacitive, which will make the poison grow in power over time. And the poison is the timer to explode the core, which will also be firing out, obviously. Rather than hearts, they're using health-infusing cells. Once again, health-infusing cells have a small amount of biomass. A little bit less than that of HP. So they're a good alternative if you need a shorter timer. And, what are these power cells for, then? I guess these power cells, when they're powered on, they provide a jolt of electricity. Since they can only be on or off, they maintain a stable amount of electricity. They don't lose electricity over time. Because without them, this electrical path wouldn't make it the whole distance. But with them, it allows a jumping off point. So I guess that's what's going on with this part. That all makes good sense to me. There's a lot of things that don't make sense to me about these guys, though. So we've got an always on negative. So this is generating a negative voltage. Negative voltage will not activate explosives and will make it so poison grants immunity to poison. We've got slippery cells on the front If these slippery cells make contact with a creature, it will activate the feeler cell, which will override the negative cell and immediately explode the payload. We've got random hard cells here for reasons I don't understand. This is connected via the this provides a a circuit for these to activate, so that way the jet can go off. Why this circuitry is connected here is unknown. I don't know. I guess so that way it's on a timer or it explodes on contact, one or the other. So here's one right here. We can see it doing its weird thing. But these ones are immune to their own poison. That thing just died on a timer. You can see these things are negatively powered. And the poison will never go off. You can see that there's a pulse going on here. But it just kind of dies from basic expiration. So I think this might be another, like, vestigial evolution going on here. That's my best guess. It's so weird. It's so weird seeing these creatures with, like, functions that you wouldn't consider, and then they don't work. Like, it's breaking my brain. It's so strange. Maybe... Okay, so see how I'm bumping into this thing and it's not activating the feeler cells in most cases? So I think the purpose of the negative cell might actually be to prevent the explosive from going off while it's attached to the body. I think that's the objective here. That is what the creature is trying to do. You can see, despite us touching with the feeler cells, it's not exploding. But as soon as we activate these, they explode completely normally. And that's why the circuitry is connected to this cell here. So that way it can actually... It basically overrides the power of this. Because these two are more powerful than just the negative on its own. While these two are just neutralizing one another. That is insane. Why? It feels so over-engineered. But it's super impressive. What an insane creature. Holy cow. How long did I take to figure that out? I don't even know. I'm sorry that took a while, but, you know, I feel good about it. I'm glad that we figured out exactly what the hell this thing is trying to do and how it functions. Wow. What a creature. What a frickin' creature. Okay. Let's see if we're missing any guys left in Zone 2 other than the boss. For anybody wondering when I'm going to cover the Dark Zone, I think we'll cover that after Stage 3, because I think that's about the right power scaling. Somewhere between, around Stage 2, Stage 3, Stage 4. The darkness definitely plays a role, but I'll make sure that I bring the creatures both in and out of the light as well. Let's go ahead and see what we've got. Alright, folks, I found the next one. It is the Coward, the Runner, this dang creature. The one that's so incredibly hard to capture. Yeah, this thing does not attack in any regard. All it does is run away as effectively as possible. And because of that, it's got some... Wow, that's fucking trippy. Sorry. It's got some really interesting and weird stuff going on with it. But let's check it out. Let's check out this body. Oh my goodness. Okay. So first thing to note with this creature is that when you hit spacebar, it will convert itself into a bunch of smaller versions of itself. And each individual version will run in its own direction. And that is essentially the defense mechanism that this creature has. And yeah, so we've got a set of, let's just zoom in on one. we'll do one at a time here. So, oh my god, this thing. It's very intimidating to look at. But we'll get there. But basically it's like a pizza slice. So we should just try and trace the pizza slice, and we'll go to understand it from there. Here we go. I'm gonna take a slice of the pizza out, so that way it's easier to understand. I think I stole an extra topping. Oop. I didn't mean to take your pepperoni, dude. I'm sorry. There we go. Okay. It still looks off. I think that little piece of cheese is mine. There we go. I think that's correct. Okay. So, this guy has... I'm just going to delete this part so it's not flashing for us. Okay. This guy has a slippery front, so we've got 0 friction, because these guys are going to be breaking away entirely, thanks to the conductive layers. And then we've got... Wow, that's weird. So we've got the detach module. After we hit spacebar, it'll set a chain reaction, which gets rid of all of the breakaway. The detach will stay active and allow for the these guys to go crazy. And then I've got manual control over this one part. So these detach modules will not function for any other piece other than my own. So all of the other detached parts will slowly be poisoned and killed. They'll kill themselves off, and the main piece will remain alive. And then we've got negating feeler cells. And these exist so that way the anchors will push you away from walls. So you're not ever going to get stuck to a wall, ideally. And you're just going to bounce around like crazy. And then we've got an extremely lightweight body with some light cells and some hearts. But the majority of the body is conductive cells, which is very interesting. And one slice of the pizza, 436 biomass. That's interesting. Let's go ahead and rebuild ourselves. I'm just going to hit Control Z. Okay, there we go. Now, is there anything I'm missing from any of these other pieces? I think that's it. I'm pretty sure they're all built precisely the same. So if I press W... This one is going to be the one that's in charge because of the position. But if I were to do this... now this one's in charge. So I can change which one is in charge. If I have something else electrically activate me, what happens? So it will electrically activate and break apart. So, yeah, this thing, it's really weird and really bad. I think the only way you could make something like this valuable is if you had rebirth and you really, really didn't want to die. You could make a tiny version of one of these, potentially, and just jettison it as a safety pod to stay alive. Definitely an interesting build, but I don't think this one teaches us terribly many lessons. If you learned something valuable from this one, please let me know. Because I don't know personally. I think this one's a little bit cooked. But that said, we did bump into our next creature, and this one's newer and incredibly interesting. So many weird things going on with this one. So this creature, oh my god, is absurd. Truly absurd. So, we've got some ghost tentacles that are always on. And each of these ghost tentacles has a drone, and it's essentially a tethered drone with seekers attached to it. So you can kind of encircle enemies and go after them. And it's okay. It's not great. And it seems to have a decent amount of struggles when it comes to moving as well. So these ghost tentacles are unseverable from spikes and things of that nature. However, they could be very easily severed by explosives or lasers or lightning. And you can see that that one over there just got severed itself. So that is evidence of that. But despite them being always electrically active, they actually regrow, which is really cool, because if it were a normal drone, the breakaway having an always active tether would make it so they couldn't turn on. And that basically once you lose one, you'd lose it forever. That's really interesting. Look at that. So the... That's really cool. Okay, so the interaction that just happened there was... We were rubbing up against that creature's grounding cells, which was deactivating the electrical current, causing the ghost cells to be phased. And that allowed me to wrap it up and kill it with the spikes, which is just so freaking cool. That is extremely interesting. Let's see what else is going on with these creatures. So if I hit spacebar, it doesn't really seem to do anything. We've got some jets moving in every direction, and I think that that's giving me like a little bit of additional control, and it's also going to be pushing away enemies just a little bit, not a ton. Let's see. So we've got a balloon cell. For reasons unknown. I can't... Why does it have a balloon cell? Why does it have poison that only activates when this creature detaches? Why? I don't know. Only when this creature detaches will they just destroy themselves. They have like a self-destruct feature essentially tied in with them, which is very peculiar. I don't know why they have such a thing, but they do. And for some reason, these guys, they don't want to like follow properly. Like these ones listen great, but these ones... Are these differently designed? These ones have muscles. What? What? Okay, so diagonally designed, these two have muscles and these two have balloons. So that is intentional. It's not like, oh, it was actually supposed to be a jet cell or whatever. Oh man, oh man, oh man, this freaking creature. I died instantaneously because that guy just he booped me. That's insane. That is very funny. I am genuinely surprised at how quickly and easily that thing just died. This thing's about to die again. Okay. Alright, so you can see these ones have detached. And they're now poisoning themselves to death. Yeah, okay. Why? I don't know, but they did. I'm waiting for the part where I start to regenerate. This creature has some fatal flaws to it. And it seems to not be able to grow or regrow its limbs. Which is a disastrous effect. This thing is truly awful. I don't understand why it's so bad. I mean, I do, but I don't understand why they made it so bad. Nature be like that, I guess, if we want to go down that line. Nature has failed this creature. Yeah, you know what? I don't have any further comments. This creature's just bad. I don't think there's anything we can learn from this, unfortunately. I was hoping to, you know, come out a little bit smarter and be like, ah, brilliant. But it's like, nope, this is stupid. Oh. Keep an eye out for Keith in the comments. Maybe he'll explain why this thing is actually genius. It's quite something. Quite something indeed. Is it something good? Arguable. Is it something? Yep. It sure is. My goodness, I was about to possess that. And I do believe that we've caught all of them, except for the final boss of the area, who is obviously a giant pushover to explosives. But let's go ahead and create and possess one of these creatures. Alright, here we go. So let's go ahead and take this guy over. Boom. So we've got this giant, very formidable looking worm, who obviously dies to the slightest explosion, but is very effective at just chewing things up. This boss is weird, because sometimes they just, like, die to almost nothing, and sometimes they feel totally unkillable. So let's go ahead and take a look at why. Here we go. Okay. This explains a lot. So, the primary meat of this boss is pure light cells. And then they've got hard cells defending said light cells. And they've got spikes defending those hard cells. We've also got jets, so that way it can move around a little bit faster. But yeah, this is a very thick body with very high defensive level. If you try to run into this thing with spikes, or, you know, with electricity, as you can see here, it's not going to go well for you. However, this boss does have a crucial weak point for those sort of builds, and that's up here. You can see there's an opening where there aren't any hard cells. And because of that, this is probably the best spot to ram into the boss. If you were going to go after this thing with a spike build, do not let it wrap around you. Go after that soft spongy bit at the top, and you should be able to rip right through. Either that, or you've seen already that explosives are highly effective. But yeah, that is the danger of using light cells as the main meat of your body. It's exceptionally dangerous, and there's a lot of things that can go wrong. But I definitely have to experiment with worms more, because I think they're cool. The biggest problem with them is just how terribly vulnerable they are. Like, look at how much damage we took from just a single creature. And now that we're in this state, my cells are significantly weaker, and it's super easy to rip through me. That's a big part of the light cells. I think this thing's gonna kill me. I think these guys probably have me. We gotta be... Oh, here's the end, for sure. Oh my god, we lived. Wow. That is kind of crazy. But yeah, you can see this design. It's got some significant problems. But it's also got a couple strengths as well. It's definitely an interesting build. One that has had to be buffed several times, and may have to be buffed even more. We'll see. But the just chain of spikes does work quite well, I must say. You can see there's that weak point really coming into play. Such an interesting design. Zone 2 definitely stepped up their setups, I think. I'm really happy to learn about some of these creatures and see what the hell's going on with them. Definitely a weird and wacky episode. Next up, we'll be going into the Lava Land, which has some of the most dangerous creatures in the entire game, in my opinion. And I'm very excited to show them off. So please, make sure you like and subscribe if you enjoy this content. And, yeah, we'll keep it going. And I'll make sure that I do full coverage on everything. And if there's anything that I get wrong or miss, please let me know in the comments down below. I am learning and growing along with you. And the only way for me to improve is, you know, to learn. And, you know, learning from others is a very good way of doing that. So yeah, thank you all very much for watching. I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye. See ya.